You're listening to the Small and Supercharged podcast with Ria Freeman, episode 204. Hello and welcome to this episode of the Small and Supercharged podcast with me, Ria Freeman. It's a solo today and we're going to be addressing a question that is in my mind a lot. And it's about how riders can use social media to grow their brand, business and opportunities. Now, it doesn't matter whether you are a rider who has got, huge ambition to be an Olympian, to compete at the highest level across the globe, or whether you're a rider who maybe isn't at that level but has got really, really great things to share, really good stories. It doesn't matter. For this podcast, it absolutely doesn't matter. And the great thing is that social media does help us to level the playing field in some ways. It allows us all to promote ourselves well. And I think that something that I do see a lot is that this isn't being utilised well for riders of all levels. And I think it's just such a missed opportunity. I'm sure I've harped on about this before, but I remember the days before social media and how hard it was for brands and businesses and individuals to promote themselves, to grow a personal brand. It was hard. It took a huge amount of dedication. It took an awful lot of work with the press to get those placements, to get those articles, to get those masterclasses in there, to help grow that brand. With social media, we're allowed to access everybody across the globe. Well, the 2.8 billion people that use Facebook, etc., but a lot of people we can access through our platforms. Now, I think for riders of all levels, it's really important to think about, when I say riders of all levels, I mean people who want to have some career element to this. And obviously this will make more sense as we go through the ways that riders can utilise social media to effectively grow their brand, business and opportunities. So that's really the hub of this. It doesn't matter what level of rider you are, but it's riders who want to grow their brand, by which I mean get more presence for themselves as the brand that they are, as insert name, the rider, and because that can help you massively with so much which we're going to talk about. So many opportunities open up when you have developed this personal brand that we all have got the ability to do with social media. Obviously, we're going to also look at the business side of things, and that's something I obviously teach a huge amount of. And I do work with riders, as you well know, of various different levels to help them to grow. But the business side, it's such a great tool to market yourself. You're saying you market yourself to grow your brand, but it also means you've got the opportunity to develop businesses, to market new businesses, to promote all the aspects of your business, to get customers, clients, and make revenue from it. And we all know that it's expensive running these horses. It's expensive competing, and it's expensive to fund your dreams and your goals, even if you are lucky enough to have owners and sponsors and the support of all these people. You still need to have an income, and social media has got the ability to help you do that. It is this incredible platform that you control. You control what you put out on there. You control how often you put stuff out on there. It's your own little media station, your own media platform that you don't need anyone else's permission to talk about yourself or what you're doing on. And it's so underutilized. And this, when we do build our brand, when we do build our business, it creates opportunities that we can also utilize through social media. And that's, I think, what I find so frustrating when I see it done so badly in many cases. I think one of the first things, and a good example of this, is from the sponsorship side. So we know that many brands support riders, and depending on the level of that rider or lots of different variables, that might be product. So that's generally more of a brand ambassadorship, when people are given product in exchange for coverage on social media, or it could be in the form of cold hard cash, which, particularly if you're a professional rider, is very important to run your yard and run your life and fund your life. Now, what happens is that not quite in the olden days, but I'm going to say in the olden days, it was a case that you would put a logo on different things that you could do, and that would be okay. But nowadays, that's not the norm. And what brands are looking for, and when you calculate the return on your investment, you're not just looking for that. You are looking for riders that support you as a brand in everything you do, and they support you between times. They don't just support you once, whenever they go to competitions. They support you all of the time. And the thing is that when you've got social media on side, you're able to do that at no cost to you. And if you pick the right people to work with, it feels very natural. You're not having to think, oh God, I need to make content about this stuff I never use. You can just incorporate it into your daily life. Obviously make sure it's marked correctly, but it's easy to do. And where I think many riders are really falling down, and when I have discussions with brands, which I do on a very regular basis, about who they want to support and who they want to put money behind, unfortunately for many riders who don't use social media, they don't even enter the conversation. And this is, riders of all levels, even very high levels, because they're just not using it. So whilst they might, let's say they tag all their sponsors in a post, that's weak. That is a really weak way of using social media. If that's all they're doing, they're not going to figure in many people's budgets, because that's not great. But if you use social media well and you think about how you're going to utilise it, it can be incredibly beneficial for everybody concerned and very lucrative for you too. So one of the things that social media can help you as a rider do is it can help you to attract sponsors and brand ambassadorships. Depending on whether you're a professional rider or you are, when I say amateur, I mean someone that doesn't do it for a living. So don't think I mean, you've only just learned how to ride. I mean someone that doesn't do it for a living. You might think, well, I don't need money, but product would be very useful because I use this product. Or if you are a professional, maybe, your size of following particularly, or, you can be an amateur with an incredible following that you can charge brands money for to be featured on. I'm just going to bundle this together, it'd be easier. You can grow your sponsors, you can grow your brand ambassadorships, you can grow your bottom line, you can increase your revenue by using social media well. Some influencers particularly do charge per post, and I completely understand why. You look at their reach, you look at their engagement, you look at their stats, and when you compare that against some other forms of media, they're an incredibly cost-effective solution. If you are a rider, in addition to all the amazing things that an influencer does, particularly a professional rider, you've got a different take on it. Or if you are not a professional, but you're an amateur with a really clear story to tell and a niche that people are drawn to, that's incredibly powerful for the right brands. So using social media well can allow you to get new sponsors, to get new brand ambassadorships, to keep the sponsors and the brand ambassadorships that you've got, which is incredibly important because it is much more difficult to get a new sponsor on board than to maintain an old one. And if it's just a case of keeping them happy, that's a win. And by working with these people, you're likely to get more sponsors because they talk to each other. I think people don't realise how much people talk to each other. And again, I've had conversations with people and they said, oh, I wouldn't work with such and such because insert name of their friend or someone they know from the show circuit used to, and this happened. People talk. If you do a good job, it spreads by word of mouth as well as on social, but it all backs up the story, the overall impression of what you're trying to achieve. So definitely sponsors and brand ambassadorships. Now, if you are a rider looking for horses, so if you're looking for owners, when you show not just how well your horses are doing on a competitive level, but how lovely their lives are, how well they're looked after, how much your team or yourself care for them. If you are looking to attract new owners, to attract people to give you the ride on their horse, and they do their due diligence and they do their research and they go through all your accounts, this is what I would do, and look what was going on, look at how you looked after the horse, look at the results you get, look at everything. You have got like a living CV there that shows when this horse went here, when this horse went there, and you are just building this up all the time that they can then just look back on and say, oh, that's nice. Oh, I like that. Oh, I use shavings, little things like that, with you telling your story, documenting your day-to-day life, showing what's going on, showing the care and the attention and the love that your animals get and the results they get too. that's a really great way of showing owners what you could do for their horse. It's not rocket science. None of the stuff we're talking about today is rocket science. It's just that awareness of, it's not just a case of you put it out there for the fans, although that is lovely as well. That's a really good thing, which we are going to absolutely discuss too. But it's more than that. It is like a living CV. It really is. So moving on, there is the loyalty aspect. We know that on social media, it's many people's desires are to grow their accounts as big as possible. And I always add the caveat in that have that desire to grow your account, but always have that desire to grow your account with the right people above simply the desire to grow your account. But another great way of growing your account is by making sure that your fans and followers have got that connection to you. They feel a loyalty and they do feel a connection. That's the best word, to you, which might mean that they comment more on your content. I mean, they share their content, which can then give you exposure on their friends, stories, feeds, however they're deciding to share that content, which can help to elevate you as well. One of the benefits of this could well be if you are looking to work with brands that are interested specifically in those follower numbers, you're helping to fuel that too. When you have also got this following, it allows you other opportunities. So your own merchandise, your own branded products is a way that I've seen quite a few riders go of late, and one that I think has been quite lucrative for some of them. But you need to make sure you're using that social media. So you have got that audience base, you've got that fan base of people who are likely to want to have your name or your horse's name or whatever across their chest. Otherwise, what are you doing? Who are you promoting that to? It allows you to create your own merchandise. And I've also seen a number of riders bring on sort of online training platforms, online memberships. Again, you need to be using that social media well to get people interested in what you're doing, to whet their appetite. So when you do launch, if you wanted to launch a membership program, an online training thing, or when people pay to view your content, you've given them enough stuff that they are engaged, they are interested, they are team you, which is going to encourage them to give you their money because they want to know more about you. And this doesn't just apply if you are aiming at 5-star events. This applies if you have got unique skills and talents that people are interested in. The great thing as well is through using social media, you will get to know what people want to know about. It might not be you sailing around the biggest cross-country course in the world on your top horse. It might be how you start your young horses. It might be how you deal with difficult horses. It might be how your physio treats you as a rider rather than the horse. But you can do this market research through your social media, and that can help to inform any membership platform or anything else like that you do. Moving away from online slightly can also help you to promote any coaching you do, maybe events that you're running as well, or clinics or workshops or demos that you're involved in. And that can obviously put money into your bank account as well. Whether you work with a brand who are doing it, or you take a bit of a profit share on it, or you earn however much per ticket directly, or it is your event completely. If you have worked your social media well, if you have kept consistent content up there, if you have engaged with people consistently, if you have nurtured and grown that audience the right way, it means that when you say, I've got a few coaching slots available, or I'm doing a demo at this equestrian centre, here are the tickets, you're going to sell them, or at least the odds are stacked in your favour to help you sell them. Versus if you just don't use your social media at all, you don't work those opportunities, you don't put the time in, when you then say, I've got a ticket to sell, and you only use it as like a sales platform, are people going to go for it? Or are they going to not even see you? Or how is that going to look? Using it well can make a huge difference to the coaching and the events demo side of your business as well. The last thing I've got on my list here is if you wanted to sell any horses as well, it's so useful because you've got that catalogue, if you've used it correctly and used it well, that's shown those horses come up through the levels, have shown how they do, where they've been. You've got a really great CV of the horse there as well, as much as you, that people can look at and refer to. And then if you do say that a horse is for sale or whatever's going on, you've got that information there that they can look at and find that, find how the horse goes. They can watch videos because you film them. You can allow people to get involved and get to follow that horse's story and build that loyalty. I've seen quite a few people sell horses that they've sort of featured quite heavily on social, not with the sole aim of selling them, but we've been part of their journey. And it's great to see when those horses move on to different people who know them so well, because that journey's been followed so well as well. And it also means that you're kind of spoilt for choice for who you want to pick, rather than scratching around desperate to find a buyer, which could also mean that you sell the horse for more money because it is in demand. So there's just a few reasons why riders need to be using social media to grow all the things we've talked about, to grow their brand, to grow their business, and to get those opportunities in. By having that presence as well, you're also opening yourself up to opportunities you might not even imagine. TV appearances, radio interviews, being interviewed for articles. All this helps to build your brand. It is like an entire ecosystem. But the great thing is, the one that you can control, the part of that system you control, is your social media. And when you don't use it, you're literally leaving money on the table, and sometimes a significant amount of money on the table. And if you want to get anywhere in this sport, we know it's an expensive sport. We know that. You need to have the funds to back it up. And there are lots of different ways of getting the funds. But if you want to help generate some of the funds yourself, you need to be using social media. I'm incredibly passionate about this subject. Very, very passionate about it, because it's an absolute no-brainer to me for how people promote themselves. We think about how brands have managed to grow from nothing to many tens of thousands on their social media and have been able to build businesses from a social media account. It's obviously gone out more and they've got other things going on now, but there's no reason why riders can't do the same. There really, really isn't. There seems to be a sort of mental divide between a business that sells product and a service-based business, whereas in truth, there isn't, in terms of they both need promotion, and they can both do incredible things when they utilise their social media. If you'd like more information on any of this, please do send me a message. I do have an online rider course, and there's a lovely group that goes with it. There's also the Small and Supercharged Mastermind group, and I do a little bit of one-to-one work with people occasionally, and also host things like webinars. Actually, I've done quite a few in-person things lately as well. So please do reach out to me. I'm just Rhea, RHEA, at rheafreemanpr.co.uk. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please do screenshot, share to stories. Let me know if you think I'm right. Let me know what other opportunities you have attracted and gained from your usage of social media, or maybe what even stops you. And I know that time can be a real factor, and that's something I hear a lot. But equally, if we're looking to get that income to keep that dream alive, we maybe need to set aside a little time or find a way to incorporate it into our day. It doesn't take massive amount of the time from us that we need, but it provides that information because you've got a unique setting to show people what they want as just part of your day-to-day life. Tap into it and use it. It doesn't have to be as hard as you think, I promise. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it as always. If you would like to give a little rate or review over on Apple Podcasts, I would be incredibly grateful. Take care and we'll catch up soon.